Hey everybody, and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to work on this Japanese green mound juniper. I purchased this tree as a landscape plant, and in January of 2023 I root pruned it out of the 3-gallon pot, put it into this pot, which I think is a mica pot, and then styled it, brought a leader up as the trunk, and I wired it, but because I'm so terrified of the wire cutting into the bark and creating wire scars, I took the wire off way prematurely because the whole thing just flopped right back over. Because if we go like this, there's the tree in there with, of course, some refinement, but you know, it's got decent movement, and I had it upright like that, and when I took the wires off, it just went blop. Maybe not that fast, but, and I mean, the species name is called Procombens, and that's what most people call them, and they want to grow like this. They want to grow horizontal, so we have to coax them up to turn them into trees. So I'm going to rewire this guy, and then I'll start looking at the branching. I think that the apex can be reduced a little bit, and it's got some decent branching already because I styled it. I took excess growth off the way I do, but it definitely needs some refinement. But by far the biggest thing it needs is just to be rewired so it looks like a tree again. Ready, timber! Boom! Alright, so I'm going to get myself a chunk of wire. Does wire come in chunks? Here's a piece I think will work. So I'm going to get it, bring it up like this, and anchor the center to the soil. Start wrapping it around. Alright, well that right away looks, oops, don't have the camera right. Anyway, right away that looks a whole lot better. Let me get it up a little bit more even. A whole lot better. And we have a back branch that needs to be wired. This first main branch is actually coming from here, and in a perfect world it'd be coming out of here. But we can bring it that way, and then this branch here has some growth that's shooting back against the grain, so if we brought it out and elongated it, it would be huge, which I don't think is really necessary as far as the design. So I may wire it a little, but then cut it somewhere into here, something like that. And then, you know, the leader is super straight, so it either needs to be bent again to follow the curve, or just to be shortened. And I think I'm going to wire it too. That looks pretty good. And there's a whole bunch more wiring I could do on this guy to flatten out all the pads. Like this guy here, I want my pads to be in kind of a triangle. Sometimes I do a semicircle, so this guy is way too tall. And once again, this guy needs to be wired out, but then shortened. Unless you want to grow everything out. You know, if this guy comes out to here, which is, you know, like that, then this brand, that's, I don't know, what do you think? What was that? I didn't hear you. Sorry. So I'm going to wire a lot of this tree up, but that process is fairly boring, so I'm going to do that and then come back and show you after the wiring has been completed. Well, I'm back before I completely finished the wiring. I did wire this branch here, and I had it coming almost straight out like this, but it was directly over this first main branch, and I want the first main branch, you know, in here. So I took this one back, and I also cut all the excess growth. Let me see if I can grab it here. Okay, all this growth off of here because it was just really aggressive, and I want it, you know, to grow back. And actually, in a perfect world, you wire every single thing down. And I'm still thinking very seriously of bringing it to this leader and just chopping this whole part off. Chop this part off and bring it to this leader here. And then the first main branch, am I still in the frame? Sometimes I have a tendency to move things almost right out of the frame. The first main branch needs to be wired into place, you know, 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. But then this branch here on top is also almost parallel with this guy. They're almost exactly the same, and it's almost exactly the same length. So you've got a couple of options. There's, get rid of this, there's this guy here, but if we take this guy and bring it down like that, then you'll notice there's a big gaping hole in the back. There's just no back branch. So this one, even though it's coming off of this branch, I'm going to wire into the back to give it that depth. And then we've got this little branch right here. And so I'm going to cut to there and then wire this guy into place. Actually, I may create a little bit of gin right there. So, take my scissors and cut away some of this little tiny stuff. Oops. And then I'm gonna cut about right there. And then just rip it. And then create a little bit of gin. Sometimes little snags like this can really give the tree more authenticity. And then I'm going to wire this guy into place, so then this branch will be here and this branch will be here, and it could even be, this guy could even be shortened even more. Just depends on how wide you want the tree. And typically this is about as much as I want. So this guy may need to be reduced yet again. There's another small branch right here that I could actually use. Oh, it comes all the way from the trunk. So if we turn it around, you see this branch here comes all the way from the trunk. And that might not be a bad idea, just to completely get rid of this larger branch and bring this guy into there. That's probably for the future though. And if I am going to do that, then just continue to limit the growth on this branch and let this guy, who is now poking down at you, grow a little more before I cut it off. So I just wanted to show you that before my wire sticking out. Just wanted to show you that before I started wiring again. And the wiring process for me is, you know, it's a little tedious, a little boring, so I will continue wiring and then we'll get to that stage. Okay, it's starting to come along. There's still some things that need to be done. This little part here of this branch needs to come more down like that to create more space, but that's okay. Then we have this little guy right here that I could probably wire into place. And in a perfect world, like if this was a competition, I would wire every single little tiny piece all up here and make it all just choo choo, you know, zoom zoom zoom. But for now, it's so much nicer. Another thing you want to do is you want to take off all your downward growing branches. And then we've got a couple of branches that I just think we don't need at all, and those are, I wouldn't even call them branches, just new growth right here, these two little pieces right here. This one and this one here. This one's in the crook of the curve, So we can just pinch him off, and this one is shooting straight down, and it really has nowhere to go as far as the design. So I'm going to take him off too, and I guess I'm going to need to use the clippers for that. There. Okay. And now just imagine that the wire isn't sticking out all over the place. And we're getting the beginnings of a pretty nice little tree. This branch here looks a little weird because I've got this piece right here that I'm really very seriously thinking of replacing the heavier branch with this thinner one. So it's kind of visually making that branch look a lot more heavy. Now I can prune off some of the ends. And when you cut Procombens, you get brown tips. But this guy is, you know, many moons away from being shown as in a display. And the back branch has nice positioning, and I position this guy here as the new back branch. Needs a little bit more in here, but that is really coming along. Especially from the first shot that I showed you when it was all falling over. Now the roots are kind of funky because the guy who grew these, remember this is just landscaping, he uses a foam block to root these guys in. And he's now retired, gone out of business after almost 50 years. And just because he, wanted to retire. But you can almost see the foam still in there. There's like a round, weird thing to the roots, and that's the foam that he used to root the cuttings. He also had a huge professional fog house to root in. And let me see if I can get the tripod back. But there you go. He's looking a whole lot nicer. I really like it. It's going to be pretty. This foliage up here is a little heavy comparatively. See how it really needs to be lowered. So we'll do some of that. And it can be lowered either with a pair of scissors or by just wiring it down, wiring it into place. So even doing that just makes it... And this one here, I'm not sure whether I should keep it or not. I could wire it in the front. I want my trunk to be clear at least halfway up, but then I can take these little guys and wire them into the front, and it'll create more of a image of fullness. But that's it for today. I really am happy with the way this guy came out. This is pretty much the way I envisioned the tree when I first did it. And now I'm going to really try to keep the wire on long enough so that it doesn't fall over the next time I take it off. Put it into the center of the shot just a little better. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Alright, so there you go. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and when I notify you of the next time I work on this tree, you can watch this develop and leave a comment if you like. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.